and welcome back to the shop. Today we are working on a 2005 Ford F-150 that has a clunk or a thud in the front end. Now this noise often gets misdiagnosed as a lower ball joint that's worn. They change the lower ball joint and boom, they still have the same exact problem. What it actually is a stab link, stabilizer bar link that is worn. Now a lot of times stabilizer bar links on like cars and light duty trucks, like let's say an Escape, they present a rattle type noise. Whereas on this vehicle, because everything's so beefy in the front end of the F-150s, they actually present a thud type noise because everything's getting telegraphed right through all these thick components on the front end of the truck. Now there's a few problems with taking these off of there. They look very simple, but as soon as you get in there, you're going to come into some problems. The top stud on there likes to get stuck in the stabilizer bar itself, whereas the lower stud that goes through the lower control arm, the nut, because it's down there and all the salt and water and everything all the time, the nut gets fused to the stud, so you go to turn it off of there and the whole thing just spins. And you can't get up in there to zing it off because it's fully boxed in there. So what do? Well, you watch this video and I'll show you all my tips and tricks to get these out of there. Now the one thing I can tell you through some research is to get that top stud pressed through the sway bar and get it out of there, what you want to do is use something like this. It's a tie rod end tool from OTC, and you want to press it on through there. What you do is you take it, pull this piece off of there, and you'll have enough clearance, back it all the way out. You put a hook behind there, and you just press it, and it'll pop right out of there. It works perfect. I actually used it the other day to pull some wiper arms off an Escape that were just stuck on there big time. Nothing else could get it off of there. You don't want to use a hammer on there too much because a lot of times you'll hit it and it'll spring back. It's spring steel, right? So it's just going to do that. It's not really going to transfer through there unless you get lucky. So you want to use something like that and press it off of there. Now the one thing that I did, just to let you know, is that that tool also comes in this kit. That tool's like $50. Guess what? This kit is like $95 or $100, something like that. And you get a lot more components for front end work on just about any vehicle you work on. So just let you know that. I'll put links down below. Anyways, let's go over to the vehicle. I'll show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so we're going to jack it up from the lower control arm. Get it up nice and high. Make sure you chock your back wheels so they can't roll backwards on us. And then we're going to go ahead and slide this jack stand underneath here to the frame. Support it directly on the frame here. We're going to lay down on it slowly. And now before you actually let this all the way down, because the suspension travel is so far, you may want to go ahead and pull the wheel up before actually settling the full weight onto the jack stand there. It's already on there, but we're going to get this out of the way. Now what works best on this is actually an upholstery tool. It fits right into here and it'll pry off of here. No sweat. Now these are 13/16 in my case. I have a worn 13/16, but I think it's actually 21 millimeter for most of you out there. So we'll pull the lug nuts off. Now if you don't have an impact tool like this, what you want to do is break torque on these with a 1/2-inch breaker bar before actually lifting it off the ground. Just enough to break torque on it, half a turn or so. In our case, this wheel came right off of here. Now if you have an aluminum wheel, you may want to hit it like this and break it off of there, or with your feet and break the bond. Besides that, get it out of there, out of your way. Okay, now once the wheel is off of here, what you want to do is get it turned depending on the side you're working on, so we have access to that stabilizer bar link over there. You want plenty of access from the top and the bottom, and this thing to be turned to the right for the left-hand side and left for the right-hand side of the vehicle. So let's go ahead and turn that and give ourselves some access. Okay, now these studs on the links like to spin when you're trying to get the nuts off of here. So what you want to do is get a jack on the lower control arm and push up on one side, and you'll compress and put pressure on this link through the sway bar. So we'll put tension on it and kind of prevent them from spinning. Okay, now the first one I take off is this one up here. You're going to want to spray some rust penetrant on these threads. Same thing on the bottom. Underneath there is one that sticks straight down through. And we're going to use a wire brush and clean them. And that way, when we're taking the nut off, it's not fighting the threads and binding, and then this whole thing starts spinning. It's a nightmare. So these clean and lubricated, it should come right off of there. So we'll loosen this one first. Impact tools are kind of a must for stabilizer bar links, otherwise they'll spin. So go ahead with that tension on there, even with the binding towards the end there a little bit, it came right off. Mine's stuck on here. Okay, off to the side. Now this one's loose. Now we can go underneath and do the same exact thing. Now on the bottom side, it's an 18 millimeter, whereas up here, it's a 13/16. So we're do the same thing down here, threads with rust penetrant, clean them up, and then we're going to try to zip it off there with the 18 mil. Okay, and down below right here is the other one. Now like I said, this one's an 18 millimeter. We're going to try to take it off with an impact. Now, this one came right off, but what's most likely going to occur for you is it will start spinning in there. So what do? What you do is there's a hex right here. Okay, right here the stud sticks out. What you're going to do is find the size of it. Usually it's 8 or 10. This one's an 8. You're going to, hopefully have an impact. If not by hand, you're going to turn it clockwise. You're going to tighten it. And what it's going to do is turn the nut off. If you're turning to the right, and the nut's actually going to the left. What you're going to have to do is get something like this, though, that will hold that nut from spinning so the 8 mil can do its job. So it looks something like this. Holding our nut, putting this in the center stud, and we're going to tighten it. Now again, at this point, it's still not off of there. We're all the way down, we're loose, right? We're good. You simply come back with your impact and 18 mil again, and we'll finish taking it off of there. All right. There we go. And now you can see it's free. At this point, lower down the pressure on the arm. So all the weight goes back onto the frame and the jack stand. And it should be a lot easier, well, as you can see here. You should be able to see that. You see how much higher up it is now? So that really helps in getting it out here. Now you just need to tap it off of here, okay? And then it'll be free, and this whole thing will be able to come out of here. Okay, now you can see it's loose down here, but it's definitely stuck in the bore up here. What you can do is hit it from the side, and that'll break the bond down here or here, and we should be able to get it out of there. Now if it's really stuck in there, what you can use is something like this. Either a tie rod end remover, or in this case, a ball joint remover. Tighten it down, and it'll press it out of there for us. And you can see this one was quite worn. It's moving in and out quite a bit right there in the lower This upper is not so bad. So at this point, let's clean the lower control arm where it mounts up to it. Down below, all that good stuff. Shine this all up. Nice. Now you're going to want to take both your nuts, okay, and clean them with some brake clean in a rag. Get all the rust penetrant off of there. Kind of like so. And that way our thread locker will actually do its job. Nice and clean. I like to dry them out also with some compressed air, just so everything's perfectly clean. Okay, so here is our new stab link, and I do recommend Ford ones because they actually last compared to the aftermarket. Aftermarkets, everybody says is great, they're greasable, they last a long time. Guess what? Moogs and some other ones have gone downhill in quality and be doing it over and over again, so it's not worth it. This, compared the online Amazon price, I'll link down below, was actually the same price as like a Moog or something like that. So just pop it into here, same way it came out. Need a little bit of a tight fit. Alright, there we go. And then we're going to take our nuts, and some Loctite, and I should thread right on like that, both top and bottom. Okay, now if your lower nut does not thread on because it's not sticking through far enough, what you can do is get a pry bar like this down on the sway bar, push down a little bit just so it starts threading on by hand. And then when you tighten it after that, it'll just get tighter and tighter and thread all the way on there. So you can snug it down and then torque it. You can also alternately jack it back up and put that pressure on it like we did with what's coming off. So we're going to go ahead and just tighten these down. Like so. And the same thing down here. Okay. Now that they're snugged down, we can go ahead and torque them down. Okay, this upper nut is 98 foot-pounds, and the lower down here is 66 foot-pounds. At this point, with it wedged in there, it should hold so you can torque it no sweat. There's all that pressure on it. Get this one torqued down. Perfect. Okay, we got all that together. It's all torqued down, Loctite in, all that good stuff. Then we can go ahead and put our wheel back on. 150 foot-pounds on the wheel lug nuts. Go for a drive. Make sure everything sounds good and the noise is gone. Then come back and retorque your lug nuts to 150 foot-pounds once again so they can settle and be torqued down properly. Overall, not too bad of a job. Worst part is knocking it through there. Be persistent and use a tie rod end remover if you have it.